Donald Trump claims he is winning his trade war with China as he backs claim U.S. is victim of tariff terrorism despite mounting fears of recession and trade deficit widening since he took office. Donald Trump claimed that he's beating China in his trade battle, as he promoted coverage of the dispute on Wednesday morning that favored his position on CNBC. Billionaire investor Sam Zell had backed up the president on trade, said per Trump, "We can have a system where we run our entire economy for the benefit of other countries, which have long charged us big tariffs. Don't keep ducking the reality. The US has been subject to tariff terrorism for 50 years. But a real deal can be done," he said, according to Trump's tweets by Francesca Chambers, senior White House correspondent for DailyMail.com, published, 15:55 BST, September 4, 2019, updated, 20:37 BST, September 4, 2019. Donald Trump claimed that he's beating China in his trade battle, as he promoted coverage of the dispute on Wednesday morning that favored his position. On CNBC's Squawk Box, billionaire investor Sam Zell had backed up the president's trade aggression, and was quoted by Trump on Twitter as saying, "We can have a system where we run our entire economy for the benefit of other countries, which have long charged us big tariffs. Don't keep ducking the reality. The US has been subject to tariff terrorism for 50 years. But a real deal can be done," he stated by the president's account. Trump pointedly ignored data on Wednesday showing that the United States trade deficit has increased by 8% since he took office, despite his claims to totally end it. Donald Trump claimed that he's beating China in his trade battle, as he promoted coverage of the dispute on Wednesday morning that favored his position. Trump promoted Zell's claim that the U.S. is a victim of tariff terrorism in Wednesday morning tweets. Trump also claimed that CNBC acknowledged U.S. winning trade war with China in dollars, cutting off an on-screen graphic that said "but not in percentage." He pointedly ignored data on Wednesday showing that the United States trade deficit has increased by 8% since he took office, despite his claims to totally end it. In spite of a claim the day prior that the Chinese are holding out on a deal and hope he loses in 2020, he said his trade war is succeeding. And then, "Think what happens to China when I win. Deal would get much tougher. In the meantime, China's supply chain will crumble and businesses, jobs and money will be gone," he boasted. On Sunday, September 1, he allowed tariffs on clothing, footwear and other goods go into effect, in line with an August announcement that he'd be retaliating against China for tariffs it put on $75 billion worth of American-made goods while firing the latest cannon boom of the trade war. He promoted Zell's general viewpoint accurately but misquoted him on Tuesday as he cited the real estate tycoon who says he refused to go into business with Trump over differences in opinion. Trump says that Zell said on CNBC, "The Chinese are very adept at not accepting anything. You've got to be very tough, and that's what Trump is doing. It's in China's interest to correct, and I think we'll end up with a solution that's dramatically better than we have today." Trump's Twitter account posted quotes from Sam Zell, a billionaire investor, in a segment on CNBC that captured the sentiment of what was said but were not 100% accurate. "Frankly, I think the impact of what Trump is doing to China is not lost on the rest of the world. Europe has had among the most protectionist policies forever. They're sitting there and saying, gee, are we next? Maybe you are. We've got to change the rules. The US can't defend the world and pay for it. We can't have a system where we run our entire economy for the benefit of other countries, which have long charged us big tariffs." Don't keep ducking the reality. The US has been subject to tariff terrorism for 50 years. But a real deal can be done. Zell did not say those words exactly in the segment. He said, "The Chinese are very adept at not accepting anything, and so you have to hit them over the head, and I think that's what Trump is doing." Asked how long he believes the dispute will go on, Zell said, "I don't know the answer to that. I mean, there's so much here, in my opinion, that's in China's interest to correct, and there's so much interest in the US to do something that I think that sooner rather than later people will come up and face reality, and I think we'll end up with a solution that's dramatically better than where we are today." He went on to say, in part, in response to another question, that people generally attempt face-saving scenarios in an attempt not to be embarrassed, and that is what could happen in Trump's trade dispute. I think that the issues are much broader and much bigger, and frankly, I think, the impact of what Trump is doing to China is not lost on the rest of the world. So, Europe, which has had, among the most protectionist policies forever, is sitting there saying, gee, are we next? Maybe you're a doubt. You have to basically change the rules. The United States can't, just like we can't defend the world and pay for it. We can't run a system where we run an entire economy for the benefit of other countries. Zell said a minute later that Americans are probably not aware that other countries have tariffs, also. Because we've had a philosophy, keep ducking the reality. Keep not acknowledging the fact that the US has been subject to tariff terrorism for, 50 years. The post-World War II reorganization was nothing more than a reorganization in which the United States took responsibility for the defense and the economics of the world, he said. Let's block ads. Why?